And welcome back to the second installment of the Illini Prepper Channel's segment on water for your 3-day disaster supplies kit, go kit, or whatever you want to call it. As in part 1, we left off on the items that are used to purify water. We were speaking about the Katadyn water filter. In this case, the Hiker Pro that I use for my gear. I've had it for quite a few years now, and it works fairly well with clean water. All filters typically don't do very well with very contaminated water, contaminated with sediment. They tend to get a little clogged, so you tend to want to pre-filter that a little, and I'll talk about that in a moment here. But all in all, the filters like it, like the Katadyn Hiker Pro. MSR makes a lot of them as well. They do very well, and besides the ceramic filter contained in there, which is cleanable and replaceable, they also often include a charcoal element that eliminates a lot of the bad taste these days. So highly recommended, time-tested, proven way to clean water in the field. But the simplest, most cost-effective way to retain the ability to purify a lot of water is in these two little bottles of pill-looking things here. These bottles are water purification tablets. It's what the military has used for years and years and years to purify their water. Time-tested, military approved water purification tablets. They work very well, also kill viruses, but again, you don't want to use water with a lot of sediment in it. These are designed to kill the disease-causing items that might be found in water. The tablets, in this case, one are the iodine tablets, and because many people don't appreciate the taste of iodine in their water, the taste of iodine can be eliminated by using, in this case, Poto Aqua tablets. They sell tablets now that basically cancel out the iodine flavor, the iodine taste, once you have left the water purification tablet solution in there long enough to purify the water. Very lightweight, can purify a lot of water with that, and the instructions can be found on the bottles. So highly recommend that if you're looking for a lightweight solution. Next to the bottles down there, there's a funny looking thing that you really can't get a good look at through the camera, but it's a straw attached to a little element here. That element contains a small filter. This is a survival straw that is designed for you to be able to drink directly through the straw, through the filter. So you purify the water, you clean the water as you drink it. I keep this in my extremely small day pack in the survival kit. It's a great way to include an easy way to obtain water in a survival situation. You can even, in a pinch, drink water out of puddles or small pools with that. So keep that in mind, that is an option as well. It's really hard to find those these days. It takes me a while to find them, though you can probably find them on the internet a lot easier. I like I've mentioned in other videos, to support local vendors as much as possible. And moving down from there, we have the handy dandy Steri pen. This was a revolutionary invention. This basically utilizes UV light, or UV rays, UV radiation, that's ultraviolet, to purify water. It kills bacteria, it kills parasites, viruses, you name it. UV light is some powerful stuff. The Steri pens come in several different models and sizes. Some take regular old AAA and AA batteries, others take fancier batteries. But the SteriPen is very useful in that it does kill viruses, unlike the filters like the Hiker Pro. And it's small and compact. It does require batteries, so keep that in mind. You need to have an adequate power supply. But the SteriPen is a nice tool to have on hand. This day and age, there's a lot of accessories that go with the SteriPen, and just like the iodine tablets before, you don't want to use water that has a lot of sediment in it, so you want to pre-filter your water that you're going to use to treat the SteriPen. They do sell an accessories kit that has a built-in filter that can help pre-filter that. They also have adapters that allow you to use the SteriPens with things like the Nalgene bottles that we talked about in part 1. So SteriPens, very useful little tool, useful little item. So you want to consider what it is that you are going to need for water purification, what the volume is of water that you're going to need to purify, and take your pick on your solutions. We and my family tend to spread ourselves out in our ability to purify water. We carry the filters like the Hiker Pro and the iodine tablets and things like the SteriPen. And finally, we are going to move on to the last segment of the water video. And those are things you might have around the house that can help you accomplish your acquisition and storage of water and treatment of water. So in front of you, you have two items. One is good old-fashioned coffee filters. Coffee filters are very, very useful because they are a filter. They're very lightweight. You can use them in a very compact form. And as I've mentioned many times before, you need to pre-filter the water for a great many of the treatment options that are out there. So what better way than to use a nice cheap filter that's already made out there in the great wide world. And you can also use coffee filters for many other things in disaster survival scenarios. You can even carry some coffee in another little plastic baggie, and then you bind it up in your coffee filter and you create yourself a little coffee tea bag. So useful things to have on hand, but I carry a bunch in my gear to help pre-filter water when and if I need to acquire more than what I was originally carrying with me. The other thing in front of me here, the last specific thing we'll talk about for this video, is a brand of Pool Shock. That's Pool space SHOCK, Pool Shock. This is one of the steps used to treat your average everyday home swimming pool. Basically, it's one of those steps that creates the chlorinated bit of the water that you tend to smell when you walk in and you want to enjoy your daily swim. Pool Shock helps keep the water clean from bacteria that can harm you and harm the machinery and whatnot that's keeping the pool up and running. But Pool Shock is a very, very handy thing to have on hand. It typically comes in crystalline form, which this is a baggie of Pool Shock crystals. You can get them in individual bags, or if you look around, you can buy them in bulk. And the awesome thing about Pool Shock is that you can literally treat hundreds and hundreds of thousands of gallons with just a 10-pound bulk box of Pool Shock. And the key thing to keep in mind is, what is Pool Shock? It is a crystalline substance that, when dissolved in water, creates stock chlorine. That's right, you heard it here. It creates stock chlorine. And what is one of those common substances that's used to purify water in horrible situations? It's chlorine bleach. That chlorine is the thing that basically purifies water sources. So if you're looking for an easy way to carry something around that can purify a lot of water, carry around a little baggie of pool shock. It's also one of those things that you can keep around in terms of charity. What better way to dole out charity in a bad situation than giving people the ability to clean water, that is, to purify water. As I mentioned when we started these video segments on water, water is one of those things that you can't live terribly long without. And if you do last a couple of days, a few days, you're still not going to be very useful. You're not going to be able to do the things you need to do to survive. So pool shock is a wonderful thing to have on hand. And I will post the details as to what amounts of the crystal substance you need to dissolve in certain amounts of water to create your stock chlorine, and then what you need to add to your water to purify it. But amazing, amazing stuff. You can, for, gosh, 30, 40 bucks for a bulk box, you have enough of the pool shock to literally purify hundreds of thousands of gallons of water. And you also don't need to invest in so much bleach. Problem with keeping bleach around is in its liquid form. It of course can ruin a lot of your clothing that is colored. And secondly, bleach does not store for very long in its liquid form. You're going to want to rotate that out every 6 months to a year, depending upon when you've purchased it. So keep in mind that you can keep these nice crystals around that don't ever expire, and you can make your stock chlorine that purifies water whenever you need to. So that's the last specific item I wanted to go through. I carry a little baggie of that in my 3-day gear for barter if necessary, for charity, and for purifying water if I ever exhaust all of my other options available to me. One thing you want to keep in mind when doing disaster preparedness, it is a wonderful thing to prepare as part of a group. I haven't touched on this very much, but I have mentioned it in my video segments that my family prepares as a family, where one person may be weak in an area of skills or particular gear, the other one tries to make up for it. You are much, much stronger in small groups than you would be on your own. So keep that in mind in your preparedness efforts. Try to diversify in your skill set and your people, and you will have a much better chance. So we spread a lot of this gear out amongst my family. We each have all the essentials, the food, water, and shelter that these video series are covering, but we each carry some more specific items that can help the whole group. So thank you for sticking with me in part 2 of water for your 3-day disaster supplies kit, or Go Kit, and I hope you find this information useful. Like I said, I'll post some helpful links in the information box below, and I hope you're able to find some of this stuff useful. And as I said in part 1, this is just on water for your 3-day kits. There is much more to be talked about when you're talking about storing water for a long-term situation where you have the space, you have the time to store large amounts of water. Some of the stuff we've talked about in part 1 and part 2 of this video will come in handy for that, but we'll go into further detail then. At that, this is Illini Prepper signing out, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.